Hi everyone, medyhne here. Thank you so much for joining my channel. Lovely to have you with me. Today I would like to discuss three really important things to do with society and ideas or ways that we can really address some of the issues that are facing us in the world that we live in today. So the first one that I would like to talk about is I guess the lack of honoring of the divine feminine and the divine masculine that I see around me in the country that I live in. I live in Australia, and it's a country where there is a palpable lack of respect for women. And I guess also, obviously, when it's going in one direction, it goes in the other direction because the lack of, I guess, respect of the divine masculine is also going to be there if there's the lack of respect of the divine feminine. And, we can see it in different things. For example, the violent attacks on women, for example, that have been happening even in Ballarat, the area that I used to live in. There was a young girl just killed by her partner in the last, I think, 6 weeks. And, these sorts of energies or attitudes towards women are really prevalent in Australia. And there's sort of like an underneath, like a simmering distrust or dislike of feminine power. And, there are cultures and countries around the world where they really do far more honor the divine feminine. There are African tribes, there are in Europe, there are countries that do this. And some of these matriarchal, societies where there is that sort of inherent subconscious awareness that women are very special. They give birth to children, and there's this sort of real lack of it here. I feel in Australia. Please, feel free to make a comment on this as well, what you're feeling. Maybe there's a country in the world that that really honors the divine feminine, and please leave the comment below of what countries that you regard have this ability to really see the beauty and the radiance of the divine feminine. And so this is something that is, to me, a huge shift that has to happen in order for us to really move forward and ascend. And, people talk about, and a lot of people have been talking about the solar flash or the solar event that's going to come and just immediately shift the consciousness upward. And maybe, we need an event like that to happen so that we can really, shift this old energy where there's like an inherent, as I said, distrust or dislike of the females towards males and the males towards females in this country, and inability to see the profundity of who the feminine really is, the energy of that beautiful divine feminine that is so precious. And I've really felt an absence of this in the country here for such a long time. There seems to be like more of like a primitive energy of, and it's more of a survival energy really, that means that people don't have even the cognizance or the ability to know that they need to look at how they value both themselves and others. And this includes, the divine feminine aspect. Fortunately, there have been some protests around the country. There was one in Ballarat. There was a very big one in Melbourne where they were protesting violence against women, and there were many, many men that were present in these protests, which is wonderful to see. So there is an awareness happening, and I think perhaps a wave of recognition that things have to change, which is, a positive step forward. I wanted to share with you a very beautiful piece of writing from a man, and this is what I'm talking about in terms of you don't see this type of attitude or this type of behavior towards women in Australia very often. And it really stands out when you do see it. Think, wow, that is really what we need to see here. So this writing, I'm going to read to you from a man that made a Facebook post. He was an Australian man and made it just the other day. He said, "It's my ex-wife's birthday today, so I got up early and brought flowers and cards and a gift over for the kids to give her and help them make her breakfast. Per usual, someone asked me why the hell I still do things for her all the time. This annoys me, so I'm going to break it down for you all. I'm raising two little men. The example I set for how I treat their mum is going to significantly shape how they see and treat women and affect their perception of relationships. I think even more so in my case because we are divorced. So if you aren't modeling good relationship behavior for your kids, get your shit together. Rise above it and be an example. This is bigger than you. Raise good men. Raise strong women. Please. The world needs them now more than ever." And this was so unique and unusual that it really stood out to me. And that in itself says something, that it had to be something that was so sort of striking, because it doesn't happen very often. You don't see that very often here in this country. It says here that there were 10 to 20,000 people protesting in Melbourne in regard to violence against women too. So that's a really good point to make, that many of them there were a lot of men in those protests, which is fantastic. So, there is an awareness happening and there is a shift, but that is one area in society that really needs to improve, which is the ability to even see and acknowledge the divine feminine and to treat women with deep reverence and respect and honor, and to be able to even see all their good qualities and their beauty, their nurturing, their receptivity, their caring, their emotional intelligence, their heart-based attitude to things, and to really honor that. So that's in Australia something that needs to happen. I just wanted to share with you for a bit of fun. I have my book here, Hilhairyass Poems, and one of the poems in that actually covers this whole topic of the gender divide. Because to me, again, it stands out so much in this country. I think energetically, maybe one of the reasons that I chose to incarnate in Australia is to address this on some level just through my energy. This poem is called The Aussie Gender Divide. You can purchase these books. If you'd like to purchase a book, please contact me. And they have the most beautiful illustrations by a well-known book illustrator Mark Payne. He's amazing. So, the Aussie gender divide. A curious phenomenon, I'm sure that you'll agree, is the big gender divide in this colony. Every Aussie barbecue, the gender gap's found. Invisible lines are formed and drawn upon the ground. One side of female folk babbling and preening, far across the other, or wobbly and leaning, a drinking bloke, clouds of smoke clutching to a stubby. Wives, girlfriends on one end and on the other hubby. A culture we're accustomed to have a separate state. Men will sure embrace it once they procure a date. Her eyes flutter at him through the ochre divide, intimate conversation unknown and rarely tried. So much more appealing, the surprise of things unknown. How can mystery exist if ironing skills are shown? Attenborough may question it, this Aussie mating right, a divide that's always conquered in the middle of the night. So that was my take on the Aussie gender divide. And if you'd like a copy of that book, please contact me. So that is one area in society that can really, really do with a huge shift, a huge overhaul. Now, the other thing that I wanted to share was it would be wonderful, wouldn't it, to have somehow to have the ability where the honoring of the elders and like our grandparents was really brought into society somehow, because at the moment what's happening is there's many grandparents that don't get to connect with their grandchildren. I would be one of those in that category. There are many grandparents out there that have so much to give and so much love and so much knowledge and experience and wisdom, and they want to pass it on to the younger generations. And also the interaction of the really young people with the really older generations is so important. That's a really crucial connection and very, very special. So that is one area that needs to really improve, where somehow the really older generation of the grandparents can be able to have that intergenerational relationship with really young children. And much of that's been taken away in the last 3 years, with the whole issues with the differences in the opinions of the jibby jabbies, people who've had it, who haven't had it, and a huge consciousness shift too that has created, separation between family members. And so this issue is probably getting worse, not better. So here's an example of someone who is aware of this inner desire to be able to connect with young children. And their situation is that, they just don't have it available in their life at the moment. There's no divide, but, in family or anything, but they're still really wanting this connection. So they wrote, "Hi, if there are any families out there with babies and toddlers and you don't have your parents around, I'd love to meet you. My adult children are not ready to start families and I really want to be a nanny. It's okay with me if they are not ready. So I thought I could step in as a surrogate nanny if anyone that needs one or would like one. They say it takes a village to raise a child and I'm happy to be in your village. We can go out for coffee dates or go to a park. And then when you're comfortable, you could go on a parents' night out and leave the babysitting to me. I'm a mum to grown-up children with only 2 teens left in the home. So if you want me to be part of your village, message me. So that is a really interesting post, because it shows that there is a demand or a need for us to somehow bring, these older generations with the really younger generations together and have them interacting. The whole family model of grandparents has been broken down. Obviously, many older people have passed in the last 3 years with everything going on, and there is that disconnect now where they're not able to learn and grow and bring the joy into each other's lives in the way that would be really, really beneficial for society. So that's another thing that needs to be done. The final thing here is a very positive one, and I'm going to share it with you. It's just an initiative that's happened around the world that I really love. It's called the Human Library. So in Denmark, there are libraries where you can borrow a person instead of a book to listen to their life story for 30 minutes. The goal is to fight prejudice. Each person has a title: unemployed, refugee, bipolar, etc. But listening to their story, you realize how much you shouldn't judge a book by its cover. This innovative project is active in 85 plus countries. It is called the Human Library. And so I think that this Human Library is a very beautiful example of how we can overcome differences, learn to see the beauty in one another, hear one another's story. And, the mark of a mature society is one where we are able to honor one another's differences. And the Human Library is a beautiful way for people to learn from one another and to expand their empathy. So these are 3 things that I think that are important to focus on as we move forward in the ascension of humanity. If you have any comments about this, please leave them below. I'd like to run a workshop coming up, and I can run workshops on a whole range of different topics, but one of them that I suggest, and please contact me if anyone's interested, because I need to sort of gauge what people are interested in, but one of them is the divine inner masculine and the divine inner feminine, and how we can heal that within ourselves. And there are specific techniques to do with energy work that you can do to heal anything that's unhealed in our own inner divine masculine and inner divine feminine. And of course, it's that work that we do on ourselves that is so powerful, that creates the shift in the world around us. So if you're out of balance in your inner divine masculine or feminine, then that will be reflected in your relationships and in the things happening around you. Also, another indicator is if you, for example, have issues on the right side of your body, that can indicate an issue with your divine masculine. And if you've got issues on the left side of your body, it can indicate issues about needing healing for your divine feminine. And I would love to do work with you on healing and balancing your inner divine masculine and your inner divine feminine in a workshop. So if that resonates with you, please contact me on the email below and put your name down, and I'll organize to create an online Zoom workshop to do healing on this topic. I think it's a really big one at the moment. That's what I'm feeling. So with your response, I'll be able to tell if that's the case, but I'm pretty sure that's one thing that is in need of work for many, many people at the moment in the process of ascension. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening. I love this image of, I'm going to share with you, of the Love March, which was done by my wonderful friend in America, Jeffrey C. Olson. He did a love march where they all had these placards of be love and I am love and love wins. And they walk through their Salt Lake City in Utah in 2020. It was called the Love March. How beautiful is that? So, you know, these things can make so much difference. Have a beautiful day, everyone. I hope that you've enjoyed this video, and please leave a comment below and share this video as well. Much love. Bye, everyone. Thank you so much for watching.